this is very weird. I didn't know they were doing anything like this. Did you have your suspicions?
Well, it's not only that one that you showed. There's
the entire administration, and there are elements on both sides.
Alright, what's up, everybody? If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. I watched Redacted yesterday. You can't make what our military is doing. And the mainstream media wants you to think, oh, for some reason, Putin's losing, or we have to get Putin out of power, or something. It's crazy. I want to play this clip here. And, because I still talk to people who think, oh, Ukraine's winning, Ukraine's whooping Russia so bad that it's I laugh because they don't know. They get on YouTube, they watch these news channels, and it's sad. It really is. But here it is.
So, did Russia just destroy a major NATO operation center in Ukraine? 300 people killed, along with dozens of high-ranking NATO officials, Ukrainian officials at the top levels. Was that story kept from you? Was it redacted? You weren't allowed to know about this story. We're going to show you the evidence in a moment, as well as why it's being kept silent from you. It'll all start to make sense. All of these pieces with these leaked Pentagon documents and all of these statements recently from Lloyd Austin and others and European leaders who are flying to China saying, we're not really interested in talking with the United States anymore about this. Can you broker peace, please? All of these pieces seem to be pointing to a similar answer in this. And there's a reason for all of this. But first, some context on this story. So March 2nd, let's rewind the clock a little over a month ago. U.S. and NATO launched a terror attack inside of Russia. I'm not sure if you remember this, using Ukrainian soldiers. Now, remember, I say Ukraine is because of NATO and the United States. It's not Ukraine. It's a proxy war. We're directing everything. Everything that happens, we are directing the traffic. They crossed the border into Mother Russia, into the Bryansk region, and they carried out terrorist attacks in a couple of village areas. There's a lot of gunfire. Reports initially were like, wow, there's like 50 Ukrainians. Turns out, no, it wasn't that many. It ended up being a lot less than that. But nevertheless, people were killed, killing a person, injuring a 10-year-old boy, also firing drones. Drones were dropping incendiary devices on residential homes. So it was a residential attack. It had no military strategic importance whatsoever. The only thing it was designed to do was provoke Russia. Scott Ritter was on the show at the time. He said it was a clear provocation. He told our audience, clear provocation. These guys were animals. It served no military purpose whatsoever. It was a terrorist attack. Again, against a 10-year-old boy, civilians. That's what this was. The whole goal was to provoke Russia. And then Putin declared it a terrorist attack. Russia declared it a terrorist attack, said game over, we will respond. And then he made it in a devastating way, a devastating response to this attack. A few days later, on March 8th and 9th, Putin responded, launching for the very first time hypersonic missiles, 6 of them to be exact. These are the Kinzhal missiles, known as the daggers. President Biden described them as, quote, a consequent weapon that is almost impossible to stop. Ukraine admits they have nothing that can stop these Russian hypersonic missiles. Nothing. In fact, the United States even test launched their own hypersonic missile a month ago, and it failed off Hawaii. Disaster. So Scott Ritter was on our show that day to talk about this attack and how devastating these Kinzhal attacks were. Watch.
The Russians are coming in with very innovative tactics designed to force the Ukrainians to activate their radars so that the radars can be identified and destroyed, force the Ukrainians to fire their specific missiles, especially from high-value resources like the IRIS-T or the NASAMS. Now the Patriot system is in Ukraine, allegedly. And then for the Russians then to target these and to denigrate, to degrade, to neutralize the Ukrainian air defense so that they can impose their will on this space. And last night, we saw the Russians begin to impose their will. They struck repeatedly. They struck targets of high value. And they started using the Kinzhal missile. Before, the Kinzhal was a one of. They fire one here, one there, because it's a very expensive missile, and the Russians didn't have a lot of them. But the Russians have been producing Kinzhals. They're running triple shifts at the facilities to produce these things. And I think we're seeing these missiles starting to come out in quantities so that the Russians can integrate them. And the important thing about the Kinzhal is no matter what NATO and Ukrainians do, you can't shoot it down. The missile cannot be shot down. So it can be used, for instance, to strike any target at once. And now notice there are 81 launches. 6 were Kinzhal. So the Kinzhal is still a small portion of the overall less than 10% of the overall strike force, but the targets it's hit are guaranteed to be destroyed. So it can hit command and control targets, it can hit critical energy infrastructure that otherwise be protected with air defense resources that would negate a Caliber attack or a Shahed 136 attack or an Iskander attack. Well, you can't negate the Kinzhal. It hits, it destroys, that's it. It can also start taking out the high-value air defense systems themselves. If you can identify a German IRIS-T or an American Patriot system or a NASAM system, take it out with the Kinzhal. Bam, that's worth the expenditure. And I think you're going to see sort of like continue to shape this battle, allure the Ukrainians into activating radars to be destroyed, firing systems to be identified, and bringing to bear the hypersonic Kinzhal when needed to eliminate high-value targets. This is the beginning of the air campaign, which is designed to collapse Ukraine as a modern nation state, and in doing so, collapse political support for the Zelensky government.
So what does that tell you? That tells you Ukraine has no chance in Hades to win this. We have no chance we can give them the money supply that they need, and it still will not win the war. Unlimited supply money, unlimited supply of weapons. It's not going to win. They're not winning. It's all propaganda. But this next part that he'll be talking about, I think, is toward NATO and how one of these hypersonic missiles hit a NATO base underground, but we never heard anything about it.
So what we didn't know at the time was what specific targets were struck. And Russia then, here's the payload. You can see it in the graphic here what this looks like. Then Russia finally admitted to destroying NATO's deep underground command bunker in Kiev a few days after these attacks. They admitted to this. But what was in this command bunker? NATO was quiet about it. The United States has been absolutely silent about this Western bunker near the capital of Ukraine that was totally destroyed. Have you heard about it? Has CNN covered it? Has Fox News covered it? Has any major media outlet covered it? Has the BBC covered it? Where has this story been? Who was killed there? Has Ukraine talked about it? No, but that very day, you can piece the pieces, you can piece the evidence together and see interviews with Zelensky that afternoon where he looks like he was a beaten dog, like he just literally had his stomach punched and was slapped in the head because something big had just happened. And arguably, he was supposed to have been there during that time when this bunker busting bomb unfolded. So what exactly happened? Well, reports started to trickle out from sources that I trust and independent media sources that one of these 6 Kinzhal missiles struck a secret bunker in Western Ukraine near the capital. It was devastating. And then again, I said, Zelensky shows up on TV, looks like a beaten down dog because he just lost hundreds of his top leadership members, hundreds of them. Russia struck a bunker that was 400 feet below ground, 400 feet below ground, and destroyed it. According to reports, 300 people, among them dozens of top NATO officials, not from Ukraine, from NATO, were also there and killed at the time. But oddly, this story has been redacted by the mainstream media. No mention of it, totally ignored. Again, I haven't heard anything about it. I haven't seen it printed.
So when are we going to hear about this? It's just one piece that luckily this independent journalist found. I mean, it's
newspapers all day.
You can't make this up.
No.
You can't make this up for real. It's really sad that we are sending money to this foreign nation, really, who isn't even a part of NATO. It's funny. It's so funny. It really ain't funny, but it's funny. You have Russia just demolishing this country that don't need to be demolished, and it ain't demolishing the country; it's demolishing the people of the country. If they all die, who's going to take over their country? Russia. It's mostly Russian-speaking people, but there is some Ukrainians there. It's crazy. Then like the army dude came on and said, "This is made to collapse it all." Can't they see this? It's not worth the life that's being sacrificed. It's a shame. It's sad, really. I just figured I'd share it because I thought it was important that other people know about it. Hope everybody has a great day. God bless you. And remember,